About the show today, we've got Pete Bombaci wearing a Quebec Nordiques, and I'll tell you what, our next guest coming up is our good friend Tommy Groszman. He's not going to be happy to see that Quebec Nordique hat. Everybody hear each other?
Yeah, Gooch, I didn't hear any of the opening. I just came in now, so.
All right, good. Well, you're here.
That's a good sign.
All right, our technical stuff's really working good today. As you can see, I'm in my bedroom. I didn't make the bed. This is not really my bedroom. This is more my office, but I just happen to have a bed because I work late nights, as everybody knows. So the odd time I lay in front of the TV and watch it. Hey, guys, really great to have you. Obviously, Rosie, always good to see you. Obviously with having the hockey news and your good friends at
Christian Hockey
help us make this happen. So we're really excited about it. So guys, how this is going to work today, it's a round table. We've all had experiences with the connection part of our lives. That's the important part of this. We all come from different backgrounds. And I thought it would be really important for us to talk about what we're going through right now and share some of that. And again, the caveat is none of us are doctors, unless I said to Paul this morning, he went and got some schooling on an online course. I am not a doctor. Pete, I don't see PhD behind your name. And Tommy, all I see is ASS behind your name. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure that qualifies.
That's brutal.
Yes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to moderate the story. I've got a bunch of questions for you, but first and foremost, why don't we go around the room? And Pete, you started off. You're in a great organization called GenWell Project. It's actually one of the reasons why I worked with the name Connected. Obviously, we all know with my sister having mental health issues and us losing her to mental health and addiction, I felt it important that we reached out to people, and you were one of the great people that led me down this path. And what really put it together is when Paul tried to take his life in February. I just felt it was important. Being close to Paul and not seeing it coming meant that I wasn't as connected to him as I wanted to be. So, Pete, thank you for what you've done. And let's hear about you and GenWell.
You know what? I'm actually almost emotional to hear you say the whys behind starting Connected, and I'm just happy that I was able to.
I can't hear Pete.
Oh, can't hear me?
Okay, Tommy, we'll get you in Tommy, maybe just shut out and come back in.
You want me to go off and in?
Yep. As usual, we got a little bit of technical issues, so but nothing big. Pete will be talking away. Clive, thank you for joining us from Australia. Guys, he's joining us very early in the morning, and hence our European correspondent.
Shoppy.
Quebec Nordiques. Who played for the Quebec Nordiques that he would know?
Peter Stastny.
Know the other guy.
Boulay,
Sundin,
Joe Sakic, Matt Sundin, tons of them.
Inachek.
Peter Inachek. I don't think Peter Inachek played for the Nordiques.
We'll look that up. I can hear all of them. Tommy, can you hear everybody?
Yes, I hear and see everybody now.
Do you hear Pete?
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Pete.
Hi, Tommy. Pleasure.
Reset button.
Reset. Here we go.
Pete Bombaci from GenWell Project.
We should start a band.
There we go. The band is on. Well, yeah, Carrie, as I was saying,
where are you located, Pete?
I'm in Toronto.
Okay. I'm in Montreal.
Okay, beautiful, and thus the Nordique hat not hitting it off too well with you, but I apologize. So, Carrie, the GenWell Project is a movement that I started 4 years ago. And actually what I would say is, to your comment of, are you a doctor? Part of the inspiration behind the GenWell Project was I ran Movember Canada for 5 years, and I had an opportunity to work with a lot of mental health professionals when we added men's mental health to one of the issues that we funded. And what I had an opportunity to do during that time is actually listen to people talk about the things that keep people happy and healthy, both in recovery, but probably more importantly, and where we're focused on with the GenWell Project, is actually keeping people as a preventative measure happy and healthy before they get to the crisis. And by research, the single largest thing that makes us happy, reduces anxiety and depression, increases empathy, compassion, resilience, and can increase our chances of living longer by up to 50%, is actually spending time with each other. But the crazy part is that none of us were ever educated on this. So we wanted to start up a movement 4 years ago that actually just reminded people to jump off the treadmill, step away from the technology, and do the thing that by research now makes us happier and healthier. And that is actually doing what the four of us are doing right here. And, you know, conversations with friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, anybody. This is actually what makes us healthy. Going to the gym's important. Eating well is good. But if you don't have those social connections in your life, you know, they now say the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day and many other negative things, from dementia to other challenges that most of us aren't aware of. And that's what the Genwell Project wants to do, along with you, along with Connected, is making sure that people understand how important this is.
Well, and it is so important to be connected, and I'm glad we're connected here today. We got a lot of people coming on from all around the world: Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and of course our good friend Greg Bowden in Vancouver saying it's really sunny. That's great. Doesn't it always rain in Vancouver? So we're going to move from Vancouver on to our good buddy Tommy Groszman in Montreal. How's everything out there?
Well, not too bad considering the conditions. We seem to be coping pretty well. We get to benefit by having a backyard. So my son is actually just building a birdhouse in the backyard right now.
All right.
And so that gets us the chance to get out a little bit more, other than essential errands. So I find that from a personal experience, in reference to what's going on now with COVID, is that getting out, and as you said, Pete, socializing, connecting with people, and also I find really important sunshine. Getting sun. It makes a world of difference getting in the backyard when it's sunny. We haven't had that many sunny days recently, and I feel the difference.
Right. Well, especially what's going on in the world today, sunny days are needed, and I think they are not too far. I'm not going to be I'm not pulling a Trump here, but I think if we continue on going down the path we are, staying optimistic, that's what we're going to talk about today. Brighter days are ahead, and collectively with people like yourself, and of course. Pete and Paul, you know, we are making movements. There's no question. Paul, I know we've talked about this before, but your situation as you live in a family, you know, obviously you're with your sister. You know, Tony and I are alone. Pete, you're with a family, right? You have a few. Please tell us. You have two kids, one child.
One little guy at 5.5 years
That's right.
Old.
And
Yep.
Tommy, you.
Adam is 13.
So you're okay. And Paul's the one, you got a whole nest egg there.
Well, I'm not with my family are all in the 30s. My kids are all over the map. They're 36. My son will be 34 tomorrow. My daughter's 32. I have 2 grandchildren and a third coming in July. But I'm staying at my sister's now. So my sister, my dad, and my sister's 3 kids were all in their 20s. But for me, the biggest thing right now, Goot, and I thank Pete every time we talk. I thank him for Genwell. It means so much. From a guy who tried to take his own life on January 30th, 2019, I'm around 14 months now, clean and sober, and I'm 14 months into programs. And I was going to AA and NA meetings 5 to 6 times a week with my girlfriend, and continuously with that contact, physical contact, like you said, Pete, so important. One of the biggest problems now for addicts and for people in recovery is the fact that we're done. It stopped dead on. My addiction doctor I saw every Wednesday morning for almost 15 months. I have to now see him on the phone. We have to talk on the phone, and he sends my prescription in for a product that I'm on now, like methadone, to stay strong over. It's called Suboxone, over an opiate addiction. It's one of the hardest things. And I just talked to him on Wednesday of last week, and he said relapse, Pete, is the highest it's ever been, because we're on online AA meetings, and it's just not the same. So I want to reach out to you and say, what do we do in this situation? You know, I have my girlfriend, but I don't have my meetings with my 20, 30 people that I've stayed connected to 5, 6 times a week for the last 14 months.
Yeah, it's a great question, Paul. And here's what I'm hearing. And we do the Genwell Project's hosting conversations on Instagram Live every Monday to Friday interviewing different people that we think are bringing relevant topics and conversations. And we had a gentleman on last week from workplace mental health, but I'll just say mental health in general. And his big thing was, and the message of our movement is, digital technology was originally created to add so much value to our lives. It was about connecting with people. It was about getting education. It was all these beautiful things that it was going to be saving time. But most of us got caught up in all the other things, like passively scrolling through social media and other things. Right now, because we can't connect face to face, there are many tools out there that can create that supplementary connection. So when you actually said that your doctor, you were talking to him on the phone and not doing a video conference?
Yeah, no, he's just doing phone now. It's it is funny, but he's not doing a video. He's just doing on the phone.
Like, that to me is the first thing I would say to anybody is, different than our conversation right now. What I have seen happen in the last 3 weeks is we've all been given, I just wrote a blog, it'll be posted tomorrow, and it really says we've been given permission to actually connect like this. Because most of us would have never connected with people that we considered good friends on a virtual conversation like this. We would have said, well, if I'm going to get together with Paul and Carrie or Tommy, I got to go at least have a coffee or a beer with them because I love those guys. I want to get connected. But now, because we don't have another option, this becomes the best option available to us. And I think what we need to do is get very comfortable that anytime we pick up the phone, let's make it a virtual contact, that we're using Zoom or Facebook or all the different platforms are there. Get the FaceTime, because I think this is what people, this isn't the same as face-to-face. But Paul, I can see when you smile. Yeah. I can see when Carrie laughs. I can see when Tommy gets upset at my Nordiques hat. That makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
And so this is the I'm Italian, so this is my natural, I'm sorry to put their hands in the screen, and they're big mitts, but
hey, hold on, Pete. I thought Bombaci was Irish.
Yeah.
He's got a Guinness cup. I saw it one time. Hey, listen, now what we're gonna do, guys, we're gonna ask some questions. I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna make a statement, and please, let's just walk through. This is not about you being a doctor, please. This is just about, there are people, I know all three of you and myself, we're not scared to talk. Listen, anytime that a person struggles, as you know, Paul's history, he's an open book. Sometimes people, you only see the book from its cover. You don't open up the book and read the real story. So that's what I'd like today, for us to really share how our experiences, because when we talk, people will listen, because there's a lot of people that hide behind it, especially males, right? We all think we're all macho and we get through it. Listen, I'm 60 years old. I've been through great years. I've had great life, but along the way, there were some pretty bumpy roads that, I'm able and prepared to talk about. So that's what I'd like to do first. Okay. What I want to talk about right now is the importance of sports. It'll be the first question before we go into what the coronavirus is doing. In your personal opinion, what do you feel sports does for the masses? Why are we so upset? Why are we obsessed about hearing, is the NHL going to have a playoff? Is the NHL going to come back? Is the NBA going to play? MLB is talking about, moving their schedule forward. What does this all mean? Why are people so affixed to sport while we have so many people laying in hospitals dying, and that we don't focus our energy on that versus when is sport going to come back? Pete.
Well, I think I'll chalk it up to two things: distraction and community. And I think the first one is about, when we watch a sporting game, it takes our mind off of the stuff that we're dealing with in our own lives. And the second part, when we cheer for our team, whatever team that is, whatever sport that is, there is a community that is created. And even if you're on Twitter and you're commenting on the last goal or the great check or the penalty or whatever, there's something really powerful, and no different than human connection. When we feel a part of something bigger than ourselves, it's very meaningful to us as human beings.
Now I go off the screen so people can see more of you. So as the conversation ends, please, Tommy, tell us what your feelings are with what sport really means about this particular situation and why that's even a major topic. Why are we worrying about when the NFL or the NBA or even the NHL coming back? Why is that important versus obviously what's going on in our present world today?
Well, firstly, I think I agree with Pete. Distraction and community is paramount. I mean, I think it's so important. It's pervasive in sport, from watching sport and also participating in sport. Um, on the negative side of this, on the flip side, I want to be as optimistic as possible, but that's difficult for people that they can't participate in sports now. Not just not being able to watch sports, but not being able to participate. I would share a personal experience, not about watching sport, but participating. When I was a teenager and I was playing hockey, I coped with a lot of anxiety, and it was a salvation to be able to just run across the street and go to the park and jump on the outdoor rink and play with my buddies. And as Pete said, it became a community. Everybody knew each other, and we lived at the park. Um, you know, I want to share an NHL story because before we got on, Paul and Pete were talking about Michel Goulet, and Pete has the Nordique hat on. I had an opportunity to interview Michel Goulet, and he told me it's just such a fun story, such a basic thing. He said, as a young man, he had a sort of like a entry level job in a potato factory, and it happened to be that the potato factory was right beside the outdoor rink, the local outdoor rink, and they all snuck out from work and they played hockey. And he says that he built a lot of skills playing hockey on that outdoor rink. But it was the community of getting together with the friends and coping. Obviously, probably the potato factory wasn't the greatest place to be. And coming full circle, getting back to watching it, it's the extension of participating. It's cathartic. We all, I think, every one of us played at a different level, but every single one of us, we all have that feeling. If I was just a little taller, just a little faster, if the scout found me a little earlier, I could have been in the NHL. And we watch these NHL players, and sometimes, even at our age, we say, how can he miss that pass? I mean, I can make that pass blindfolded, you know?
Yeah.
So it's all about identification with the players, with the sport, and all those good feelings that come back. So I really think a big part of it, as Pete eloquently said right at the beginning, community, and of course distraction.
Yeah, that's great. And Michel Goulet is a dear friend of mine. His career ended because of his concussion when he went into the boards heavily. And I had a thing with him about 5-6 years ago. He couldn't remember Chris Chelios, and he played with Chelios in Chicago. And he'll be 60 on April 21st. In a couple of weeks, he turns 60 on the 26th. 5 days later, I turned 60. So we had a good bond. And my prayers always go out to Michel. He's been struggling the last number of years. But what I think the biggest thing is, Pete and Tommy and Carrie, why people are so into why the NHL, why the NBA, why Major League Baseball isn't around and why they need it. It gives you a chance to dream. I was very, very just grateful and honored to be able to play in 3 Olympic Games. And I remember, when there was a whistle, looking up in the crowd and seeing these people, they had no clue, most of them, who I was, but they're screaming, Rosie, Rosie, on a save I made. And they wanted to dream. They wanted that opportunity to be an Olympian or play for the Nordiques or the Canadians and be Serge Savard or John Beliveau. That's why we're so into sport. It gives you a chance to dream.
Wow, I think you missed the Jets. You said
Yeah,
Montreal and Quebec. You should have said the Jets.
Anders Hedberg.
You got it. So I got a couple comments. Thank you guys for sharing that with us. I got a couple comments, and Greg Bowden says it best for you, Tommy, and for me. Oh, and for you, Pete. All roads lead to beer league.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll throw something in on that, Carrie, to that comment. As I play hockey, I still play 3 times a week. And every one of the guys that every group of guys I've played with have all sent notes around to us saying, I will never take for granted the opportunity that I had to not only skate, but to go and have a beer and chicken wings afterwards and get connected with the guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're all waking up now to how fortunate we've all been in the lives that we've had.
Yep.
And I will look at Beer League in a very special way as we move forward, because those nights and those, to your point, Paul, the opportunity to think that shot that I made could have actually won the Stanley Cup. That's how dreams are made.
You know, Tommy, you missed one very important point on your analytical evaluation of why didn't he hit the net? I could, and why we didn't make it to the NHL. It's called talent, kid. It's called talent. You missed out that part.
Right. But, I just want to ask Pete, he mentioned he's playing 3 times a week. Have you had a chance to get off those cheese cutters?
No, still struggling.
Hey, and you know what? The way you were talking out there, Tommy, I thought you were kind of Italian too. There, hands flying out. But I think you're French, if I'm not mistaken. I think you guys all mentioned the word community, but I think, Paul, you and I both know it. Playing pro hockey or at a high level, no disrespect to you guys, not suggesting you didn't play at a high level. Everybody plays at a high level. It's whatever level you get to is a high level. So anybody that plays, I got a buddy that just retired, 78 years old.
Nice.
2 times a week. I hope I get there to do that. But the big word, and we talk about it a lot, is guys that play family. We feel like family. And I said this once before, when somebody asked me, I played 16 years professionally in Europe. It wasn't the NHL, but still a professional organization. The one thing when I'm asked, what do you miss most? It's not the money. It's not the game, though I love the game more than anything. It's the fact that I couldn't sit in the dressing room after a game with a bunch of guys I went to. They call it war, but we're at war right now. Or my father went to war. Playing sport is not war, but being in that competitive environment and just sitting there after a game, whether you won or lost, having a Pepsi or a Coke or a beer, and just being guys and being family. So I think that's one thing that we seem to forget sometimes.
Let me jump in for an 8 second, and it's exactly what you're saying. And this was the hardest thing when I retired. I made Team Canada in 2000. I retired after Vancouver in 2010, and it was 3 months later in September. And I remember waking up in my bachelor apartment, going to my front door and looking, and there was no note on my front door. And I called Greg Westlake, who was the captain and in room with me for 7 years. And I said, Westy, what am I doing? What's going on? There's no note on the front door. I don't know when's breakfast. And he said, Rosie, you're retired, man. There's no breakfast. You get into this routine as a pro that you just are locked into that camaraderie. And when I'm doing this, and you're told what you're doing, and then it ends, and that's when real life kicks in. And that's what really hurt me.
Yeah, so let's get into now what the coronavirus is doing to us and what we can do, that it's obviously impacting us, what we can suggest to some people, what they can be doing. I sent a note out to some of you, or to all of you, just some topics that we'll discuss. I read a very good article yesterday, so I had to steal some of that just to talk about. And listen, we got a lot of comments here. Shoppy is actually in Germany saying German soccer is exactly like us. After people are finished playing professionally, it's a community, it's a family, it's an opportunity to relax. It's not the game of kicking the ball or shooting the puck. It's actually sitting with your buddy and having a conversation, which a lot of the times, even if you're at work, we don't do that. But it seems that sport brings the best out of us. And so thank you for that comment.
Can I add something in there, Karen?
Absolutely.
Also, of course, I agree with everybody. It's a camaraderie while you're playing and all that. But I always tell my son how interesting it is. The network of hockey buddies, lifelong friends. I mean, if I need a dentist or I need a
that's true,
car insurance guy or anything, I find everything through my hockey buddies. I played with them 30 years ago.
That's true. How true is that?
And whatever I want, I can get it. It's really amazing. It's really the camaraderie goes on forever.
I need a hairstylist right now, the way it's going, but it's 31 days in lockup. Hey, listen, we got a lot of great people. Nicholas Abib Kubel, you may not know the name. He played for the Philadelphia Flyers. He still plays for the Philadelphia Flyers. He came over to Australia with me. He's watching our show. We got NHL guys watching it. And of course, Michelle Bertz and Justin Kleckers out of Germany. Thank you guys for joining us. All right, so here's what I want to talk about. There are many ways and reasons for the coronavirus pandemic that is taking a toll on our mental health. Being aware of the factors that might affect your well-being as you're listening to this can help you take steps to combat these issues. First one I want to talk about is stress. Pete, what does stress play in this role?
Well, as I was speaking to this mental health expert the other day, the fact it's the fear of the unknown. None of us know where this is going. We don't know when we're going back to work. We don't know whether it's economy or jobs or businesses. I think there's a lot of fear out there, and that's leading to stress. And certainly have some ideas on what people can do based on the conversations we've had over the last couple of weeks with some experts. But I think the fear of the unknown is something that's causing a lot of stress for people right now, in my opinion.
And I'll jump in there. I agree with Pete. Use another term, uncertainty. And uncertainty is quite difficult. Different people have different levels of coping mechanisms for uncertainty. We're now developing a film about a character that actually teaches connection, family connection, social studies. And in his own life, he has problems with connection and wants certainty, and has a lot of trouble putting together a situation of certainty. I received a Facebook message from a friend that has a actor studio, and I know she put out a book recently about this subject, and she said it so eloquently, because her family went through a couple of life and death situations. And she said that they have each other, and they also have faced uncertainty several times in their life. And, this is a way human beings cope, I believe, by practice. And this is something very difficult and very terrible, but hopefully, it'll all bring us to another level. We will be able to evolve to a certain point with this kind of an experience.
Yeah, I agree, Tommy. And the stress is the hardest thing, especially on a recovering addict, is that, we were just getting things going, Carrie and myself, when Carrie asked me to be a part of Goose Live featuring Paul Rosen. And there were so many parts of my life where I was going to my meetings at night and so looking forward to getting our show the next day and opening up a few things in my personal life. And it just was shot down immediately. And the day-to-day stress, not knowing when this is going to change. I'm fortunate that my girlfriend is recovering also. So we have each other on this. But it's the stress and the unknown. And Tommy, you said it, the unknown. That's where I have absolutely no clue where tomorrow is going to bring. I'm just trying to stay as positive as possible. And another line out there, if somebody's watching who's recovering or going through an addiction issue, is 310-COPE. And 310-COPE is a number that got me through a lot of tough nights in the last 13 months. So not from me. I'm not a doctor. We've said it a bunch of times. But call 310-COPE if you need. Somebody on the other end of the line will help you through the evening.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And also, Pete, I don't know if you've seen it here in Ontario. There's also a number. It's 211 Ontario. You call 211 on your cell phone. If you can't get through to the COPE line, you certainly get to them, and they'll direct you to any type of help that you require, whether it's mental or other, obviously addiction. Listen, really great.
In Montreal,
Sorry?
in Montreal, it's 811.
Fantastic. So really amazing, guys. Thank you for sharing that. I just want to add a couple of things to it. There are many unknowns about the virus. Your day-to-day life may be changing rapidly as we see it unfold. We don't know that uncertainty, but it is being connected that helps, because I may hear something and then I say it to Pete, and I share a lot with Pete, and he kind of sets me in the right direction sometimes. And I think that's important. Paul and I talk on a daily basis now, and it's not only developed a better friendship, but a better understanding of who we are, but as important, who they are. And that group connection can certainly help. So as we grow our network, and I've been blessed to have a network from around the world, and we can see some of those people coming on now, making comments. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was watching things play out. I played in a little town called Timmendorfer Strand. I was one of their star players. I don't mean it in arrogance or anything. And I just decided to start a Facebook page and said, hey guys, let's share our pictures. And now we went from 0 to almost 300 people on this Facebook page, where everybody from the past is now sending in pictures from 30 years ago. And it's creating conversation that would have never happened. And you know what? Michel Bertz and his great people have kept it flowing, along with a guy named Bruce Jessup. Just do that. Set up a page and say, hey, let's all get together and talk.
Do you notice one thing, Pete and Tommy? Gooch, and I've known him a long time, and him and Tony were two of the first people to be at my hospital bedside when we weren't sure whether I was going to make it or not. He never gives himself any credit. He always says something to the fact that, yeah, I played 16 years pro. I don't mean that in a bad. Give yourself some credit, brother. You played 16 years pro. Makes me mad sometimes.
What do I say now? I would again. Thank you, Paul. That's very kind of you, kid. I love you dearly. You know that. Hey, listen, thank you for that. I thank you that very much.
Can I ask Paul a quick question?
Of course. That's why we're here.
On the stress, what I was talking about, learning from experiences. Paul, with your experience that you went through with so much courage, now that you're going through this, as we all are, do you feel that you have some tools that maybe you could share about dealing with stress? Because you went through a big traumatic experience, and now we're all going through this, and you may have learned some coping mechanisms.
Yeah, you know what? And thank you, Tommy, for that. The biggest thing that I did, that I realized it when I spent 17 days in the psychiatric ward, and then got to go to rehab and meet a bunch of people that helped me, and realize how close I had people in my life, is the biggest thing is self-isolation. I don't do that anymore. Even in the times now, I have my sister and my dad and my 3 nieces and nephews and my girlfriend, and I never let myself get into that situation where I just put the covers over my head and go away. And that's how I lived my life for years. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned, Tommy.
And, there's a couple of comments here. John Cavers makes a comment that, shut off the TV and walk away from it. And then somebody has just mentioned, it's actually Shoppy saying, there are people that are alone and don't have what we have that can just connect. So and they're both right. People just have to know their own circumstances and deal with their stress. And I know I've talked to you about this on several occasions, Paul, about how dealing with stress, we all are different. So when somebody makes a suggestion, you can try it. And then if it's not working for you, try something else. Don't quit at just one idea. Move on and make sure you fully understand yourself first. So somebody could use television. It's overwhelming television.
What I said about, the self-isolation, now, what you just said, Gooch, is really important. What about that person that time you could say, well, that's great, you've got people around you and you're learning. What about that person who's by himself? And this is where what Pete says, and it's so important. If that person is alone and you are a friend or you are somebody that cares about that person, don't allow it to happen. FaceTime them 20 times until they answer that phone. And when they answer that phone and you see their face, make them smile, right? Do something. Make it so that they are alone for a second, but we don't allow it because of this opportunity you have with FaceTime and Zoom and everything else. Pete's so right. refuse to allow them to be alone.
Pete, I'm coming to you in 1 second. I just want to say something that's come up. I'd like to ask you a question as we're here. It's funny, when I started this page and said put pictures up, right? Some of the pictures that have come up of myself 30 years ago were kind of, oh my God, we did a calendar and I didn't have some clothes on in this particular calendar, and I've just seen them, and there are people laughing at it, as my wife is, and I've laughed at it. And so do not be concerned about laughing at yourself. Do not be concerned about laughing about a friend. This is all about us hugging each other, because we virtually can't do that hug right now. And so I think it's really important. Don't be afraid. And Peter, this is the question I'm going to ask for you. It's okay to be scared and to be nervous right at this moment about our surroundings, but don't be afraid of yourself. Love yourself, and be at this time allowed to get to know yourself better.
Yeah, I think it's a challenging time, and Paul, thank you for your comments just about the messaging of the Gen Well Project. And there's a great TED Talk and a book by Johan Hari who says the opposite of addiction is social connection. Because when you're supported by a community of people, whether that's family, friends, whatever, you don't tend to go in that direction. And if you're in a state of addiction, then those people can support you out of it. So it's, there's lots of research that reinforces that. In regards to the fear that people are feeling right now, Carrie, again, there's two messages. We're launching our campaign tomorrow for the upcoming Gen Well weekend, which is May 2nd and 3rd. Normally on Gen Well weekends, obviously up until 2 weeks ago, we would say to people, use us as a catalyst to get connected, because we were living in that fast-paced, distracted world where people weren't making the time to get connected and build that community around them. Now people are slowly starting to get comfortable with digital technology, as I said right off the top of the show. But I think there's two messages. Number one, we talk about reaching out to people because we understand, the four of us understand it. So I would say, yeah, you know what? I need to talk to Carrie today, or I need to talk to Tommy or Paul. I should pick up the phone and call them. But here's the really important message for all of us, and Paul's touched on it, is that if you know somebody's struggling, whether it's addiction, whether they've lost their job, maybe they got some financial pressure, maybe one of the challenges I think a lot of people are dealing with right now is we're in households with the same people 24 hours a day, and most of us have never done that before. So we're now waking up to, wow, like I usually only spend about 4 hours a day with these people, and now I'm spending 24 hours. And so people are under a lot of stress for a lot of different reasons: the fear, the unknown, the time with people, the time missing the communities at work and at sports and all those things. But the reality is, whether it's for your health, health and wellness, reaching out, or more importantly, maybe about recognizing somebody else who might be struggling. And to Paul's point, and I love it, Paul, which is pick up the phone or, virtually, call somebody on whatever platform. And when they don't call back or you haven't heard from them, call them again and call them again and call them again. And I have been in that situation before where I've reached out to somebody, and at the end of the day, when they finally did call back, they said, thanks for not giving up.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
It's a powerful thing to hear.
All right, so let's move on to a couple other ones. We won't debate them, or we won't have opportunity to do them all. But some of the other points that it may affect your life: disrupted routines. We all know that a lot of people are creatures of routine, especially professional athletes. Or professional business people, or people that have a specific job, and they wake up at an X hour in the morning and they have their coffee, they take a shower, they go to work, they come home, and there's a routine. Right now, I think our routines, as you just mentioned, Pete, have completely changed. So that can create anxiety and also a level of uncomfortability. Cabin fever, we just talked about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mention a couple others, and then you guys can have kind of a free-for-all. Cabin fever, you just mentioned it. The lack of social contact, very important. I stress a lot. You know what? It doesn't even need to be somebody you know. It could be somebody that you haven't spoken to a long time. I did it the other day where I phoned somebody that I had a disagreement with about a year ago, and we hadn't spoken, and I just picked up the phone and took a chance. And you know what? We had an okay conversation. It's not like before, but at least we talked, and there was a thank you at the end of it. Or it could be a perfect stranger. I walked down the street. I learned this from Europe. I used to walk. Sorry?
Was that Tony you gave a call?
I just learned her middle name, for God's sakes. I used to walk down the street. For people that know me, I would walk down the street. Everybody that walked by, hello, how you doing? Hello, how you doing? Now everybody's got a mask on. I do not go out very often. I just go around my block, and we have a fair amount of people walking. I go out maybe once every 3 days. Everybody's got a mask on, and I'm waving. Hey, how you doing? Crazy times, but hello. People are. They got their head down. They're concerned about me, and so I think it's really important. The lack of social community contact, we need to do it. And the last one is reduced physical activity, even if it's just running up and down your steps. I think it's important. Guys, go to it. Pete.
Yeah.
No, let Tommy go.
Go, Tommy.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you, Pete. I just wanted to jump back for a second to that picture, Carrie.
Oh, no, go away.
Somebody's
going to post it on Facebook. Do not allow that to happen.
I haven't seen the picture, but I just want to know, did you use a body double for that? Or?
Oh my God. So what they did real quickly, I was 40 years old, and we raised some money for our charity called Carrie's Kids Around McDonald's House. So because I was the leader of the pack, they had me on the front cover, and they had did a photo shoot, and I was in a white shirt and no body, like, nothing on. And they had me they puffed up my hair. I had a turn like this, and I took the shot, and you could see the rubber tire on the side. And the girl said, "Don't worry, we can airbrush that out." Well, when they went to print, they'd sent the wrong file. So honestly, I had a spare tire like you have never seen at 40. And here I'm in a calendar, like a fireman's calendar. I'm the front cover, and all the other ones are perfectly, the rippled stomachs. And, I looked at one time, I looked like a Greek god. Now it's a Greek salad with a lot of feta cheese.
I've played with Gooch in training. We've trained together, so I've seen him naked. We'll leave it at that.
Jesus, that's getting personal.
So just to get back to this thing that you were talking about, Carrie, just looking at my notes here, what we were touching on about, I wanted to bring up, because I'm in the media business. I mean, I do feature films and fiction, but I think it's really, really important to manage how much you watch the media, the news. You talk about new habits, routines. I think that's really, really important to try to find all the things you listed, Carrie, to try to have routines, get out for a walk, do your routines, and, don't go into a free flow and just stick on the news, because you know what happens with the news? It's fueling the fear. It's it's all about sensationalism. And I'm not saying that they're not reporting well and that it's not factual. Some of it isn't factual, but that's another episode probably for your show.
True.
But I have to say, in our research for a movie that we've been working on about connection, I learned that the brain was organized in such a way to function for survival, to go out and get food, to hunt. And how they outlined it in the research, it's facts or emotions, and your brain can only manage an emotional response. It's an immediate emotional response. So what we have to do as higher level beings is to sit back and, like they say, sleep on it or think about it, process what's actually happening. Try to take a higher level look at things, and look at things. Yes, this is a terrible flu, and it's horrible. Some people are really struggling, and sadly, many people have passed. But this thing will move. We will move forward with this, and it's all a matter of managing those emotional responses that which you listed, being scared and and fear and uncertainty, all those emotional responses that your survival mechanism kicks in. They're good and we need them, but you have to try and manage them. Step back and think about the big picture.
Pete.
Yeah, I think the things that people are facing are many, and I think Tommy's touched on a few of the big things. Put some structure. Find your passion. What are the hobbies that you haven't been doing for a while that you've been meaning to pick up again? Whether it's a guitar, there's got to be a bazillion online courses. My wife and I tried to watch an online comedy show last night. There is entertainment, there is resources, there is education, there is just about anything you can imagine. And then finally, again, back to the point of connecting with people who might need your help, is I think for the last 20, 30 years, a lot of people thought that giving or having purpose in your life was tied to a check or to a donation. And I think there's what we all need to understand is right now your money, although, making donations is always wonderful. Daily Bread Food Bank, always in need, helping new Canadians, lots of different people that we can help right now with financial help. But most importantly, every one of us can pick up the phone one more time a day, one more time and call somebody and just say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? I want to check in on you. What's going, and if you do it twice a day, and literally we've got, 35 million Canadians. Let's, if everybody picked up the phone and called one person extra a day. And to your point, Carrie, I love the fact you went back to an old friend. You hadn't talked to him. We are now given permission to use this technology to reach out to people we haven't talked to in a long time. And now let's use it. Because we also have a lot of free time on our hands. And the idle mind, rumination, is actually what, for a lot of us, creates a lot of the stress and anxiety, because we don't tell ourselves that we're beautiful. We tell ourselves that we have roles when we're on that front cover of a magazine. Oh, actually, that was a flashback to another story. Okay. No, but we don't tell ourselves that we are big, beautiful,
it wasn't Playgirl.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. All right. So the point is, by staying connected, we actually create the conversations that keep us happier and healthier. Sorry, Paul.
Great. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Tommy, you wanted to jump in for a second?
I just wanted to just say something to you, Paul, for a second. Kerry, you mentioned that even NHL players are watching. It's got to be really hard on athletes, that are in the midst of their careers, because Paul shared a wonderful story about the note on the door, the structure. They're in a hyper structure mode, and
good point.
I think it's really important to create, as Pete was saying, to create a structure in your life, which could include making calls, to loved ones and also people in need.
Yeah, and I have I still do the color work, the TV work for para hockey at the World Championship. So I still have friends that are playing for Team Canada, and they were preparing for a World Championship that was canceled. So there's so many things that they have to get ready. Olympic athletes that I'm good friends with that were getting ready for Japan. Now it's pushed back a year. Maybe we're going to find out in a little while it's not even going to be pushed back a year. It might be canceled. But the two things that I'm trying to do that's very important to me right now, because every night my girlfriend and I watch a movie every night, and I'm trying to get good sleep, where you and me talk about this all the time. We have had the worst sleep patterns for the last 20 years, worse than almost anybody. I'm trying to get myself to fall asleep and sleep a good 6-7 hours, no matter what. And I'm giving myself an opportunity, whether it's 15 minutes or a half an hour, to be upset. To just be upset at, I was so close to this, and just be upset and then let it go. And it's over, and I'm going to move on. And that was a tough thing to do, but I've learned it from having great people in my life.
Great point. Yeah, Pete?
Hey, Kerry, just one last thing, and I read this article this morning. I think it's really important for people to hear is there's a lot of people out there who, again, up until 3 weeks ago, we were built on a productivity mentality. It was like if you weren't getting ahead every day in something in your life, then you were failing. And the reality is now we have all this time to fill those 8 to 10 hours a day that we were focused on a job, doing something. Now that for many people, that time has disappeared. And I think it's really important for people to allow themselves to not have to be productive every minute of every day. Like, we need to practice some self-care here, put the oxygen mask on ourselves, make sure that we're healthy before we worry about trying to take care of not only other people, but all the other stuff that's got to go on in our lives and in the world. So I just throw that out there because I thought that was really interesting.
Pete, obviously, you know I suffer from asthma, so thank you for the oxygen tank. Listen, you know what? We're taking up some time. I'm going to get a little quicker here on some of these questions because I want to get through it because I've taken up a lot of your time, and family time is so important. Let's, Paul, and to Tommy, think about this for a second. A young man, 25 years old, named Colby Cave, lost his life a couple days ago at a time where none of us, he's just planning his life. So you guys are so true to your point that take time out. Make sure every day counts now, because you know what? Today could be the last one in this. So let's make sure we keep to the positive and make sure that we do reach out and we do make sure that all of our loved ones know how much we care and make sure that we're out there watching for them. Got a lot of good people making a lot of good comments. Sammy, all the way from Adelaide, Australia. Greg Bowden just wrote, I don't know if you saw that, Tommy. He just finished a movie called The Hockey Journey. It's a new movie. He'd love you to talk to you about it. It's supposed to be amazing. I haven't seen it, but certainly would want to talk to you about it. So make sure I connect you on it. All right, let's talk about some other things as we can go through. Let's talk about warning signs right now as you're with your people. I'll go through them all, and then we'll do a quick little wrap up on those points. Warning sign, change of moods. Obviously, we all know our people. We know our kids. We know our family. We know our friends that are close to us. Change of moods. What can you see from one of your friends or family members? Changes in sleep habits. Right? We talked about that, Paul. I've had poor sleeps. I got to tell you, I have not slept so well in the longest time. And I'm not sure why, but maybe it's because things have calmed down and I'm not thinking as much. Change in appetite and weight. I'm working out myself personally. I go on the treadmill 15 to 30 minutes in the morning. You know, I'm doing about 30 to 45 minutes on the treadmill. I'm trying to work out as best I can. I got a full gym downstairs. Had to take all the clothing off it, but at least I'm trying. And the only difference is I haven't changed my eating habits. So I'm still haven't changed any of it, but as you guys can probably comment. And the fact that if you don't make change right now and you just continue on going the way you're going, what's the end result? I'd like to hear your comments quickly on sleep habits, change of appetite. Has it affected you? Tommy, you go first.
Okay. I just want to. I just want to. Don't take this like I'm. Trying to feather my own nest here, Carrie. But I have to say that I'm quite impressed with what you and Paul have done, because I know you quite a while, Carrie, and I know that you've had the asthma problem. And it's concerning, especially when all this started. And you took a very positive approach and started this show. And I think this is absolutely wonderful. You've been very, very busy with this show. It's a great distraction. And getting back to my original point about media, it's fantastic for people to come on. I love just clicking on and watching your show and have a little bit of fun. I mean, I know this episode is an important and serious episode, but for the most part, it's very entertaining, a lot of fun, and I think that's really important. Not to watch this is Pete has his message from what he does in life, and I have my message from what I do is don't get stuck watching 24/7 CNN and Fox News and all this stuff that just sensationalizes. And I'm going to work that into your question, Carrie.
Thank you.
That's part of the situation. I noticed at the beginning, I started watching that stuff. I was glued to it. Even, I'm in the media business and I was watching it. I was addicted to it. And I said, I have to stop that. And I had to bring back structure into my life and do other things. So I think that's one of the things. One of the habits that people are getting into is watching too much of this stuff and getting into these social networking debates, about the virus, and talk about we're not doctors. Get on Facebook. Everybody's an expert and everybody's a doctor. Everybody knows if you should wear a mask, or how many hours the virus stays on a surface and everything. Everybody's an expert suddenly. So don't get obsessed with that kind of thing. Is what I'm suggesting that we do.
Yeah, for me, it's really, for the first 3 weeks of this, for me, the struggle has come from a lack of structure. Tommy called it out earlier. We're homeschooling a child, which, A, I'm not a teacher. B, Genwell project has taken off in regards to the level of interest in the importance of human connection, because now people are recognizing just how important our message is. My wife's working from home, everything's happening in the confines, and I've just gotten caught up. And certainly, as Tommy's pointed out, I got caught up watching the media because I think we were all trying to understand what's going on in the world. So now tomorrow morning, I'm actually starting off working out in the gym first thing tomorrow morning, treadmill, on the bike. Then I'll actually do some time with my kid, do breakfast, spend some time with him, get him set up for some schooling, go do some work, and really start to get back to a structure in what I do every day. And I think that will make it much easier as I move forward.
I agree with both of you. We just have to just shift a little, okay? Find new things, find new routines, get up in the morning. I'm living now in the house, my sister's house, with my father, who's 89 years old. Like, my dad's been my hero. Anybody who knows my story knows my dad's my hero for years, but I never had a chance to spend really quality time. My dad was doing his thing. I was my life. I was traveling around the world. For the last month I've been here, every single morning I get a chance to talk to my dad, sit down and have a coffee with him, get a chance to watch some TV with him, get a chance to say, hey, Dad, I'm making a cup of tea. You want a cup of tea? Never had that chance to do that. And the fact that my mom has passed away, this is an opportunity to do something that I would never have had. So take something good out of this real brutal situation, people.
Well said. Well said, Paul, and I can only attest the fact that, I have an incredible wife, as you guys all know. She's allowed me to do this journey and continue on doing what I do. It's not real. Hockey was never her journey, but being around her 24/7 has been easy. But if I could only think about what you said about seeing your father, the three most important people today that I would love to sit and be with right at this moment have all gone to heaven with my mother and my father. And as you know, my sister. I long for those days to be able to chat and sit and speak to my dad about the way I feel, or the way I could speak to my mother, who I adored, and my sister, Paul, you know her very well, and the trials and tribulations that she lived through. I just want those days back. They're not coming back. So everyone there watching and listening, do not take it for granted. Paul, you're blessed to be able to do that and talk with your dad. So let's live that. And when we get out of this, when we get out of jail and we go past go and collect our $200, let's make sure we live on those principles of making sure. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, guys, we've taken a lot of time. This is the last part I want to go through, because we talked about some warning signs. We've talked about what it's doing to us, but what can we do? Here are the things. I'll list them all. Get physical, get out there, get active, whether it's walking up and down the steps. We have spiral staircases that I'm going to go continue. I'll be moving, so I hope I don't move to one floor, but we'll up and down the steps. Physical, regardless of what it is. Go for a walk, go for a bike ride. Make sure you follow the social distancing parts. Really important. When you're getting physical, also mental training is also important. Take time out, read a book, read something online, learn something, learn how to play a guitar, learn how to read a book. I can't read, so I hope to get back to trying that. One of the ones, and Paul, you brought it up, which I found really interesting, schedule time to worry. I want you guys at the end of this to comment on this one, because it was fascinating. This person said, it may sound counterintuitive to schedule time to worry, but research shows that scheduling time to worry can be an effective way to contain it and to limit the time period. Rather than worrying all day, take a time for 15 minutes. Paul, you touched upon it. Worry for those 15 minutes, get it all out, move on, and get to the positivity of it. Maintain social connections. Very, very important. And I think another one that I truly believe in, let's keep the big picture in mind. Today we're struggling. In 2, 3, 4 months, this picture could be as wonderful it was before. It's going to be different. There will be a new normal, but it will definitely be a better place than we left it today. And the most important part is that let's not forget these days. Let's remember why we're here. And it's all about not being connected enough. There's a reason why this virus has come to hit us so badly. And so take time to understand it. Guys, last words for all of you. Pete, start it off, kid.
Yeah, to me, I think your big message there is at the end of this, let's not go backwards. Let's find the new normal, and let's all these things that we're being enlightened with now, the importance of staying healthy, the importance of our connections, the importance mentally and physically, picking up those a new skill, a new hobby. All these things are things that we all should have been doing before the crisis. And when we get to the other side of this crisis, let's support each other. Let's build the communities that help one another. When you see a buddy who used to be running every morning or riding a bike or doing whatever, say to them, hey, you want to buddy up and let's do something? Or how can we support each other? Because the world is going to be different, and we are going to need to come together as human beings to get through what lies ahead.
Absolutely. Tommy?
Well, firstly, I just want to comment on your list, Carrie. I think that one, I learned a lot of things today, but I think that's a wonderful thing that you mentioned, to schedule some time to worry. I think that's really interesting. And I once saw a post or something about today's my day for my nervous breakdown. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. So to label it, to name it, to own it, and then to move past it. My final word is, I've been talking about the media, of course. Try not to watch too much of the media. And hopefully, yes, Carrie, we will evolve. We'll take something good about all this. Facing adversity, I asked Paul about his question for adversity. Carrie, you mentioned just now, you had so much adversity in the past year, and you've built tools to deal with adversity and to deal with change. And you're showing it, again, I mentioned again, by taking a positive action and doing this show. But my last word, long-winded as it is,
we love it.
This has taught us something very visceral. Whether you're a millionaire, whether you're a CEO, whether you're an NHL hockey player, or a guy working at the corner store, we're all the same.
Absolutely.
Virus doesn't care about your race, your age, your religion. We're all in this together, and it really has humanized everybody. And I hope we take that lesson from this, that we all are in this together, planet Earth. So maybe we can do a little better.
Yeah.
Bravo. Well said.
Gooch, my final word is on this Easter Sunday. 40 years ago today, Terry Fox, the great Terry Fox, started his journey in the Atlantic Ocean in Newfoundland. And we know how that ended, but we know what a great message Terry Fox has left to everybody, not just amputees like myself, but everybody in this world is, I am so grateful to be alive. I should have died 13 months ago. There's no way I should have lived, but I did. And I did for a reason. And let's not take this world or this life we have for granted. We're here for a reason. Let's make it worthwhile. Let's enjoy today and know that tomorrow is possible if we work together. That's it for me.
Well done, and kudos to our Terry Fox. What an incredible achievement, a gentleman that went through adversity. I got 3 things to say. I know, Paul, you may have to go. These are the things that I've taken from all of this. John Cavers, who's 75 years old, he's just a wonderful guy to us. Paul, as you know it, he came up with the saying, nature does not need people, people need nature. So take a time out. He's got an incredible, not a plug for him, but he's plugging himself, which he should. Go to his Instagram page. It's called @John P. Cavers. Unbelievable to look at Mother Nature, the nature of the world, and seeing foxes and animals that we probably never even realized are on the planet because we're too busy. The other one is adversity. Adversity, you can either curl up in a fetal position or you can rise to the occasion. And I know all four of us at this on this podcast, we've done that, and that's what's really important. And the final thing I'll say is this: I don't know where I got this from. I certainly, some of the messages that come were not from me. It's what I've read and learned, and some people have done some very good things. The best medicine for people is people, and that's what we're doing here. Take time out. Just take time out and call somebody, email somebody, or text somebody, please, right after this, that it's a loved one, it's somebody you haven't spoken to for a long time, or just a stranger, and we can be all better for that. In closing, I'm going to be back here at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be talking to Dave Turek, the AIHL, the Australian Ice Hockey League Commissioner. We're doing a one-on-one. Paul will be doing one-on-ones now. We'll post them. We're going to talk to people that have a message, and I look really forward to talking to him. So please check us out at 6 o'clock, and I want to say thank you. The three of you, and of course myself, but the three of you. Thank you for not only sharing your time and energy with us, taking yourself away from your families, but most importantly, for giving us a glimmer of hope. It's not just the four of us, it's going to be all of us that are going to get us out of it. But at least with the four of us, we can give a voice, and people can call us at any time, email us, go on Genwell Project. Tommy is all over. You're going to all be on our website, Gooch Live. And of course, we know that Paul has a 24/7 telephone. Listen, thank you guys. Really enjoyed it. And I know there's a lot of great comments from a lot of people. I see your brother back on it, Steve. He's a regular now. He didn't believe in us, but I'll tell you what, can't thank you, Tommy, enough, Hang. You were the guy that helped me set this up. So thank you.
Thank you. Just one thing, Kerry. I put a challenge out to you because I noticed watching the screen here. How come no facial hair?
I use a razor. It's not playoff time. It's not playoff.
All right.
Look at you guys. No, they think of it. Mine looks like a baby's bum. Thanks, guys. Love y'all.
Thank you, Kerry. Thanks for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tomorrow, Gooch. Have a good show.
Right on, buddy.
Bye, guys.